Ahoy, mate! Captain Mark Stevenson here once again for another exciting episode. Well, I hope it's exciting. We're going to have some fun anyway. Another exciting and fun episode of From the Wheelhouse. Our show is sponsored today by Dreamcatchers Incorporated, and we thank them for helping us in so many ways. Today is a live call-in show. I mean, this is really a live show. That means that you can call in, ask your questions, or make comments. We have a great guest today, Mr. James Compton. James Compton, he's the retired president of the Chicago Urban League, and he's a boater, and he's a senior citizen. That's how we got the tie-in. We're going to make sure that we're talking about voting for senior citizens. Somebody told me my earring was extra shiny today, though. You know, I can tell you, last week we had as our guest Captain Bill Pickney, the first African-American, well, the first, not just the first African-American, but the first black person who sailed around the whole world solo. That was our guest last week. And we were talking about how he was named as Captain Emeritus of the Amistad. And I mistakenly said that that was a slave ship. No, it was not. It was a cargo ship. Oh, man, did he admonish me. He got on my case after the show and told me I better make it right, and I better encourage you to Google and do some research yourself and find out about the Amistad. It has a great place in African American history, but it was not a slave ship, a cargo ship. It was that turned out to have some black folks on it that once the ship was captured, they called it cargo. They called the passengers, the black ones anyway, as cargo. So I want you to find out more about that. We are going to bring in the Captain Bill Pickney next week for a few minutes to clarify a couple of things. And next week is going to be a holiday, so don't hold your breath. It's going to be a holiday. I'm going to be enjoying some turkey, I hope. Make sure that you tune in 2 weeks from today. Again, today is a live call-in show. The number's at the bottom of the screen, 312-738-1060. That's 312-738-1060. I'm also going to be giving out my telephone number and email address in case you are a coward. That's right. Some of you just will sit down and talk to the television and try and make your comments, but I can't hear you. That's a fact. You have to call in and join us. This is our interactive show. But if you wish, you can call Captain Mark Stevenson at 312-437-2230. That's 312-437-2230. Or you can just simply email me at yourcaptainmark@gmail.com. Now, we're going to get right into the show today, but first I got to show you something. Man, oh man, you're going to see this. It's a really quick film, but this is what happens with seniors. Let's go live. Here we go. We have a couple of seniors. Let's help her out, and we help her out on a boat. Oh my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Oh, here, just hold on to me, son. Hold on. Don't worry about it. I got this. Oh, man. Hey, what happened to my grandson? He's gone. Washed away. Look, I don't need a net. I'm a senior citizen. I've been fishing for 50 years. Oh, my goodness, attacking me. Can somebody help this woman off? She's had too many wine. Oh, my God. I can't help it, but, oh, that's my grandson. He couldn't make it. I backed up the boat too quick. We're going to throw this mermaid off the boat. We got to get rid of her. Oh, my goodness. Here's what we can do. We can back this boat up. We can back it up. That's safer. Oh, no. Here. That was, Do you know what they call that? The crip walk. We got to see that one more time. Snoop Doggy Dogg be proud of that move. Here's a guy don't worry about it. I don't need it. Steers. Oh. Hey, Grandma, can you start the motor for me? This is the way that I arrived to the dock. Oh my God! I told you to sit down. Oh my goodness! Hey, here's my granddaughter. Oh, there was my granddaughter. Hey, what's going on? Oh my goodness! That is, uh, boy, oh boy! I can tell you one thing. You can kill the video now, Amari. I can tell you one thing. That video was something else. We got to get it. You know what was supposed to happen during this video was that our guest's supposed to slide in here. So if you give me a quick minute, I'm going to go and get him.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you, I'm very proud to introduce James Compton, retired president of the Chicago Urban League. He's a boater. Man, I can't believe how fast he learned how to boat. Welcome to the show
Thank
today.
you. Good to be with you. Appreciate being with you.
Man, oh man, I'm so glad that you're with me today because it's nice and freezing cold out there today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ironic that we're doing this show in the beginning of winter and not exactly boating weather, but nonetheless, we can talk about it.
Well, finally, the boaters are able to be at home. They're watching us now. We have thousands of boaters that are watching us right now because they can't get out on the lake.
Not down.
Not
here.
That's right. Now, let me tell you, or let me ask you, I can't tell you much, but I got to ask you first, how old are you?
I am 80 years old.
80 years old. What would make you think that you could become a boater at your age?
Well, like anything else, if you have a desire to do something, then you make the attempt and prepare yourself and surround yourself with the appropriate people and information, and you make a stab at it.
So what did you do when you first decided, once you retired, I guess you always wanted to get out there on the water, but you worked so hard for the Chicago Urban League for how many years?
35 as the
Wow.
president and CEO here in Chicago. I'd been the president and CEO at a little affiliate in Binghamton, New York prior to that. So, but once I retired, and especially when I began to retire from some of the boards that I was serving on, both during the time I was at the Chicago Urban League and subsequently for a few years, then I began to think about things that might interest me that I had thought about prior to then, but never had embarked upon it. I had and do have friends who have boats, and was fortunate enough to be with them on occasion, not on a regular basis.
Well, while you were doing all of this great work, tell me, did you, and tell the folks out here, while you were doing all of this great work, did you ever really have a chance to come out and try a boat?
No,
Try to drive it?
not myself. I would be a passenger on occasion, or sometimes on fundraising events that were held on boats, but nothing in terms of ownership or on a regular basis. Certainly not.
So being a male or a female didn't matter either.
No.
So women could actually come into being boaters themselves at any age.
I do see women boaters, young and middle age, and few seniors. Not a whole lot as far as women. More men, but most of the men have actually started in their youth, as opposed to like myself, who started as a senior. Most of the senior boaters that I do know have been in boating for a number of years.
What kind of boats are good for senior citizens?
Well, I think it depends upon the senior. If you're an advanced boater, knowledgeable.
No, I'm talking about a beginner.
Well, a beginner, I would say small craft, motorcraft,
A motorcraft.
motorcraft, as opposed to a sailboat or a speedboat, certainly.
Speedboat, right?
That's not something that one would start with. So I would say motorized, small, medium size,
Okay.
nothing oversized.
What's medium sized? 25 feet, 30 feet? Or?
I would say beginning in the 30s.
That's right.
30 to 40, 45, 40, 42, 45, maybe 48.
Now,
After 48, you begin to get a large sized boat.
wow. Now, once you had a boat, got to have some training.
Yes, sir.
What kind of training did you do?
Well, with you certainly, you have been the person who has given me the most training, but I have also been trained by others along the way, and to get different perspectives and different ideas, and
That's right.
and the benefit of different experiences. So, but regardless of how one goes about it, they do need a experienced, qualified person to not only instruct them, but to observe them and certainly get them well knowledgeable about safety and what you do in times of stress, and if you accident or storms.
Yeah. So,
You need instruction.
well, what makes a great boat captain? I'm hearing you say what makes a great boat captain is somebody that learns from several different captains.
I would say so. Yes.
So just because I've been your main instructor doesn't mean that I know so much that I can just pour myself into you and you'd be 100% safe and 100% a great captain, would it?
Well, I mean, it's like preparing oneself for anything else. Doctors, lawyers, school teachers. I mean, you want the benefit of varied experiences, varied basis of knowledge and information, and bring that together, synthesize it, and use the best that you get from anyone.
Well, what if
and it doesn't always have to be a captain. It just can be an experienced boater.
That's right. Well, what if you don't have the money to buy a boat, or you're not sure that you want to put money into a boat right now at this point? What if you don't have that kind of money? What are your options to still get on the water and see if you like driving a boat?
Well, you can rent, you can lease. There are varied programs out there in that regard. It does make sense to have some exposure to it before you go all in.
You think?
In terms of purchase.
Yeah.
But the fact that one does not have a great deal of money does not preclude the opportunity to take up boating.
Do you have to have a license?
No, you don't
Okay.
have to.
But you should take a safe boating
Course,
course.
yeah,
Okay.
course, and upgrade yourself periodically,
That's right.
and keep up with the ever-changing rules and regulations that come about on the water, and by the regulatory agencies, state,
Very
federal,
good.
and
Yes.
city,
Okay.
and whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, I'm Captain Mark Stevenson. My guest today is James Compton, retired president of the Chicago Urban League. We're talking about seniors in boating, senior citizens. What do they have to do with it? And how do we have a safe boating experience? I think we have a caller on the line. Is that so? Okay, let's take the caller. This is Captain Mark. Go ahead. Okay, the
Hello,
caller's.
Captain Mark.
Oh, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, Captain Mark. I'm a regular viewer of your show. I really enjoy watching it.
Okay.
And I have a question for Mr. Compton.
Okay. I'm going to repeat your question as you say it. Please go right ahead.
Mr. Compton, can you tell me some of the challenges that you have since you started boating?
This caller is asking, what are some of the challenges that you had when you started boating as a senior citizen?
Well, it was vastly different from what I'd been doing, obviously, and one must have an appreciation for water and a respect for the water, and then you have to understand the weather trends, the water, the waves, currents. So there's a lot to you have to give your attention to while you're out there, and when you're beginning, and don't ever get the impression that you master uh, the elements to the point where you ignore reality, and safety is always the primary issue. I mean,
Very good. Thank you, caller. We appreciate your question. And do call in again. Um, you mentioned about weather. Have you had any hairy moments?
a couple. Uh, a couple, one here in the city between Jackson Park Harbor and 31st Street, where a storm suddenly came up with great force during the during the early days of July. And then once when I was in the waters up in Wisconsin, uh, those were the worst weather.
How did your training help you? What did you do?
Well, you first of all observe all of the not only the training that you receive, but you also observe the wind factor, the waves, currents. Don't do anything that will upset the boat, obviously.
Well, wait a minute. It seems to me that, and I'm just speaking facetiously, if that's really a word.
It might be.
Okay, I'm just joking with you when I say, can I trust Tom Skilling on television? I love that man. He's a great weatherman, and Mark Strell. I listen to him. He's a great weatherman. Can I depend on them to tell me what the weather is?
Well, you can depend upon them to a point, but you need to tune into sources that are particularly aimed at boating.
What do you use? What do you use?
Well, use the instruments on the boat, and they're handheld instruments, and
Or VHF radios.
radios, and there's a lot of equipment that one has.
Have you ever seen me without my iPad or my radio?
No, I don't think I've ever seen you without your radio or iPad.
Because I'm
I
afraid.
depend mostly upon the instrumentation on the boat.
Right, and since I drive so many different boats, I use the instruments that I could carry with me that
Yes,
I'm
because you don't
familiar
know,
with.
you don't know what you're going to encounter on a particular boat.
And on your boat, Mr. Compton, you have to have a degree in computer science to operate it. One thing about Mr. James Compton that I'm very proud of, ladies and gentlemen, this man took the bull by the horns, and he is working all of these computers, electronic systems on his boat, and he has attacked it like a beast. I mean, he has really learned this stuff, and so don't you think, folks, that because you are up in age, that you can't do the same thing? We have another caller. Welcome to the show. You have a question or comment for Mr. James Compton? Turn your television down in the background. You know the rules about doing this. Come on. Hello.
Hello?
I told you, don't call me again, whoever you are, unless you know how to turn your television down in the background. There's a delay.
Hello?
Okay. Go ahead. You have a question or comment?
I can barely hear you.
Can barely hear me. Question or comment? Do you have a question or comment from Mr. Compton?
If you could hear, if
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
I'm going to just say my question. I can't hear you, but I believe you're asking me if I have a question.
Yes, please
My
go ahead.
question would be, I was watching your opening video, and I was looking at all the accidents of people falling. So my question to you is there a particular type of boat that might be a little more senior friendly as far as seniors being able to get on and off the boat? And if not, is there any special equipment or special gear
Thank
that
you.
one could use to assist with seniors getting on and off the boat?
Very good, Mr. Compton.
Yeah.
This caller wants to know, is there any special equipment that a senior needs to have to get on and off the boats? What type of boat is the best type of boat, or what circumstance can you use to reduce a chance of an accident? She saw that there were accidents here from the video at the opening, and if we got a minute, we're gonna play a minute of this again because it was so funny, wasn't it? I saw you over there cracking. but Mr. Compton, can you tell me this? Are there any type of equipment or boats that a senior might want to dial in on so that it would increase their chances of being safe?
Well, certainly you start with a life jacket and always have it with you and on you when you're near.
What kind of life jacket? I've seen all kinds.
Well, certainly there are those that are more sophisticated than others and but a life jacket that, one, it must fit you appropriately, and it must be certified.
Certified by the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard.
Yes.
So, and then there are life jackets that have different features. I wouldn't suggest one that has too many features because then you might become confused. Confused in a situation, and life jacket becomes less of a asset.
You know, I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Never thought about that. Because some of the life vests are automated where they will blow up automatically. You can pull a ripcord and open them. You can blow in, right? You know, but you're right. The more features that you have, the more complicated it is. But here's something that might be a clue. Have you, Mr. Compton, ever seen a Chicago Police Marine Unit officer, a Coast Guard worker, a IDNR, that's the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, or the Conservation Police, or anybody that works on the water on a regular basis? Have you ever seen them without a life jacket?
No, I've never seen them. They know the rules and observe them.
But we're not required to have it on when you talk about rules. We're not required to always have it on. However, would you call that a clue?
Of course.
These folks, these professionals, always wearing them.
And then, as you well know, there were a series of accidents this summer, especially in that locale called the Playpen in and around there, where people forget the rules if they in fact knew them.
If they ever knew them.
And
because they weren't required to have a license in the first place.
yeah.
All of these things are really, really important for you to know, as the state of Illinois has just changed in recent years, in that they are requiring now that you pass a safe boating course online in order to drive a boat. Now, it isn't in depth, I have to tell you. You need to call a professional if you really want to learn about driving boats and being safe on boats. There's an easy way to do it. You can go online, do a search. You can call me. I can refer you to so many people that can help you. And the Coast Guard Auxiliary is absolutely free. You see, this isn't something that we're trying to do to sell the services. This is something that we're doing to try and make it safe for everyone. So the Coast Guard Auxiliary is one of your first stops. I did it with the Chicago Park District. I went to a class up in where was that? Up in Montrose Harbor, I think it was. Yeah, up in Montrose Harbor. And I tell you, I learned an awful lot by going to a safe boating course before I actually got on a boat and tried to drive it. Now we have another caller for you, Mr. Compton.
Sure.
Let's get that caller in.
Hey, Mark.
Welcome to today's show.
Hey, Mark.
Yes,
Mark.
this is Mark.
Hey, this is C. Mark. How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful,
Hey,
sir.
listen, quick question.
Go ahead.
She,
Turn your
Listen.
television down.
should you tie the stern and the bow so you won't fall in?
Repeat that question, please.
Tie the stern up to the dock and the bow to the dock so it won't fall in like that.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Compton and see what he says, because he's trained now. Mr. Compton, we have to ask this question of you about tying the boat up. What's the safe way to do it? This caller is asking about, do we tie the bow in first? That's the front of the boat? Or do we tie the stern in first, the back of the boat? You know, what is the best way when you're trying to tie a boat up? Because we just saw a bunch of people falling off of their boats.
Well, one thing, when you say, do you tie the bow up first or the stern, it depends. One, to begin with, as to whether you drive the boat in with the bow first, or do you back the boat in, and depending upon where the cleats on the dock are located, mostly, I would say the bow, the middle of the boat.
That midship line. And once you get that midship line,
the boat's not going to go anywhere.
that's right.
And then go from there.
And you never get off the boat if the motor's still running. We have to wind up this show. Mr. Compton, in the last 15 seconds, I need to ask you to look into the camera and tell those senior citizens out there why they need to drive a boat.
Well, it gives you an opportunity, one, to enjoy the environment, water, air, sun, and also it's something that enhances, I believe, one's mental capacity in terms of attention to detail, attention to following the rules, and it's an opportunity to enjoy one's life.
Very good. Thank you so much. You've been listening to James Compton, retired president of the Chicago Urban League, and he's been telling us about seniors and voting. I'm Captain Mark Stevenson. I'll see you 2 weeks from today. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Until next week, I'll see you then. Mama, you got to get the coffee ready because the kid, he's on his way. Bye-bye.